I was going to just watch Platinum End as the episodes came out and not make a video about it, but then this one scene in episode 2 happened where the main character Mirai tries to give up the superpowers that he had been granted by this angel who saved him from suicide at the start of the show. To which said angel responds that if he gives up his powers, he will die, effectively forcing him into the plot of the show. At first, I rolled my eyes, thinking that this was yet another instance of the all-too-common trope of the main character who has some incredibly OP power, and at the same time gets to look like he's the most humble guy in the world by trying to turn them down. However, due to forces completely outside of his control, he must wield this incredibly badass power, which basically allows him to get and do whatever he wants. And yet, in no more than a minute, this show completely flipped my perception to the point that I genuinely feel like it's the most smartly constructed show this season. Let me explain why. Platinum End is what I would describe as a bonkers show. It's very fast-paced because it throws new information at the viewer constantly regarding these 13 angels and their mission to find a human being who will have the chance to become the next god, since the current god is getting a little too old for this shit. And the main character seems to process all the information thrown at him and draw conclusions about it at a similar rate to the audience. Naturally, with a premise like this, Platinum End is a show that quite literally comes up with new rules about the powers and angels and god candidates all the time, and in so many shows, this would be an absolute death sentence. If there's always a new arbitrary rule that we as the audience aren't privy to, we should have no reason to care about how much danger the main characters are in, because for all we know, there's some super secret Hadouken laser that the main character never knew about because it only activates when they're in mortal danger. We've all seen multiple examples of this, I'm sure. But Platinum End does a few things to completely subvert that expectation. First of all, the sheer speed of exposition and the amount of rules makes it feel like there is a genuine world that the main character is just being caught up to speed on. They even use the ad break as an opportunity to slip in a little bit of trivia about what different leveled angels are capable of gifting upon their god candidates. Information that is shortly relayed to Mirai in case it went by too quickly for you to read, but also adding a tinge of gratification from hearing Nase quickly explain something that you have greater context on if you decided to pause and read. This show totally could have waited until Mirai was, say, about to be shot by one of those white arrows before revealing that actually the one thing in this universe that can travel faster than the arrows is someone with wings. It would have been a huge twist and the audience would have been surprised, but that would have come at the cost of the audience's trust in the rule system. Instead, we are told about this rule as soon as Mirai thinks to ask if there is any way to save someone from an arrow, which is like a reasonable and realistic question for someone to ask in his position. And this happens before it really has any bearing on the plot, so not only do we learn information that will surely be important later on, but also learn that Mirai is a forward thinker. They also use this moment as an opportunity to characterize Nase, the angel that saved Mirai. They do this by having her forget to tell Mirai about the wings outrunning the arrows and then remembering to do so when he prompts her. It shows us that she is extremely well knowledgeable in all of this angelic stuff, but she's also a little bit ditzy and isn't always 100% focused on the objective at hand. Further building trust in the writers is how Mirai does actually play within the confines of the show's rules. For example, as soon as he suspects that the guy in the suit is hunting down the other god candidates, he tells Nase to fly away from him, because he knows about the rule that the other god candidates can see his angel, and so this guy could easily identify Mirai just as Mirai has been doing to the other god candidates. And again, this also does a lot to characterize Mirai as a kid who's a very quick thinker. This aspect of him can also be observed in the scene towards the end of episode 2 that I mentioned at the start of this video, which I absolutely love, wherein Mirai shortly contemplates about if he should basically become a hikikomori to avoid Metropoliman, but realizes that he would just end up killing himself anyway should he choose to stay inside every day all the time. Wow, that's surely not going to be relatable to a general audience who's been discouraged from leaving their houses for a year and a half. As such, he quickly and confidently comes to the conclusion that he will go to school the following day. What's so awesome about this moment is that Mirai doesn't make a big deal out of this, and neither does the show. It's very matter-of-fact with the motivations of its characters, and it treats his core character aspects just the same way as it does the rules of the god candidates. This just feels like the natural course of events that would happen. It's like watching a domino set topple over exactly how it's intended to. And since the show isn't trying to subvert your expectations yet, it doesn't waste your time by acting like the answer to the question of will Mirai go to school isn't obvious. Like I stated earlier, I initially thought that the rule about the god candidates dying if they removed their wings was a contrived way of forcing the main character to be an active participant in the show. But then the show explained its reasoning for why the rules are the way that they are, and it made perfect sense. The reason Mirai is alive right now is because he was given this power, and the purpose of this power is to find potential candidates for the next god, not to go around saving random people's lives. The reason it doesn't feel contrived is because the justification for this rule has nothing to do with what the actual power or the people involved are capable of, but rather what the person who made these rules intends them to do. I think the show itself succinctly communicates this about the way its rules work when Nase explains that you can't use the red arrow of love on someone again after the 33-day time limit is up. The reason why isn't because people develop some sort of natural resistance to the red arrow's powers, or it just only works on people who haven't been touched by angelic energy or some bullshit like that. It's because if you could just use it on someone over and over and over again, then it would completely defeat the point of there being a time limit, and whoever created these arrows wanted there to be a time limit. And because they are literally God, they can kinda do whatever they want. Furthermore, the rules of this show are just really interesting. Like, Nase says twice, word for word, that for someone to kill themselves under the influence of the red arrow, they must have done something so bad that it warrants death as an apology. Like, that's absolutely a rule that I could imagine the god of this world implementing, and it obviously begs the question, what does this current god consider to be a deed so bad that death is warranted as an apology? Where do they draw the line? Where would a different god draw the line? Have there been previous gods with different rules to this one? But even more interesting than the rules themselves, in my opinion, is the way that the different god candidates react to them. So far, we've already seen that Mirai doesn't really want anything to do with this god stuff, that Rodriguez guy immediately starts exploiting his power over others, and the one who calls himself Metropoliman has taken up an over-the-top sense of self-righteousness, going out of his way to be as close to a superhero as he possibly can, complete with ridiculous-sounding special moves, the names of which he shouts out as he uses them. When I watched episode 1 of Platinum End, I was kinda overwhelmed by the amount of information this show was throwing at me and the speed at which it did so. It also just goes completely off the rails at some points, with the most awesome example of this being when Mirai's aunt stabs herself in a way that I swear had to have been intentionally timed for comedic effect. And she makes this goofy-ass expression for a split second to boot. It's kinda hilarious and very awesome. I'm about to sound like a psychopath, but I love when TV shows treat death as this almost random event that can just happen to anyone at a moment's notice. I think I feel this way because so many shows will have their characters come so close to death and then hang on to their life by a thread, and then make a perfect recovery right afterwards as if nothing happened at all. But Platinum End just kills off the aunt because Mirai, in a fit of rage, said that she should die, and the rules of this universe dictate that that means she will kill herself. Suffice it to say, I really like the way this show goes about creating rules and enforcing them upon its characters. It doesn't surprise me at all that the author of the manga which this anime is an adaptation from is also the author of Death Note, a story that too heavily focuses on the rules of a supernatural world which the main characters get tied up in. Platinum End goes to show that you really don't need to have amazing visuals or a super unique premise to be a great show. There are tons of seasonal anime that have extremely similar premises to this one and way higher production value. But Platinum End nonetheless makes a strong case for itself in my opinion. And if I haven't made a strong case for this show, please argue with me and everyone else who's excited to watch more Platinum End in the comments. Also support me on Patreon. I dropped the early video access tier down to $6 a month. I don't know why I initially had it at $8, that was way too much, now it's only a little too much. Anyway, sorry my video output has been slow now, college is time consuming, I'm currently working on a video about the movie Chronicles, so look forward to that whenever it comes out. As always, thanks to Select for providing the music you've been listening to, thank you all for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.